My friends, I thought this was over. I really thought the Avdiivka offensive is over, that the Russians have learned their lesson and stopped these suicidal mass assaults on Avdiivka. But no, I go to my computer today, I start to research this video, and every source is hot. There's so much footage. They have actually not stopped. They have renewed their attack on Avdiivka after everything we have talked about this week. Last 5-6 days of suicidal mass assaults. There was a pause yesterday, and today it was like boom, поехали. We're going to do this again because maybe it works for the second time. I'm not kidding you, check this out. Russian losses of the past 24 hours, 20th of October 2023. 1,380 Russian soldiers knocked out cold. I mean, this is one of the highest numbers of this entire duration of the war. And it came because they decided, okay, we're going to double down. I guess losing 300 armor pieces trying to take Avdiivka is not enough. We need to lose 300 more. That's the mind process, I think. Because next one we can see here, 55 tanks lost only in 24 hours. And 120 armored personnel vehicles. Oh, I cannot fathom this. Ukrainians have made the same mistake. Do you remember the beginning days of the counteroffensive of this summer, where Ukrainians sent Western armor, namely the Leopard tanks, to Russian defensive structures, and they got destroyed? There were 2 to 3 days of this, and then Ukrainians changed the tactics and started to focus down Russian artillery and save their own armor. See, the Russians could do the same. Okay, 3 days of Avdiivka offensive, it has failed with huge losses, let's rethink this. But no, the Russians doubled down, send more troops into the mincing machine. Russians also lost 29 artillery systems, 33 vehicles and fuel tanks. Huge losses. Let's analyze the battles. See, we zoom into Avdiivka and I have this new kind of map, and I'll put the link of this in the description below so you can play around with. North of Avdiivka there is Krasnokharivka. This is where the main push happened. And we'll zoom into it, and actually these fields right here in the middle of the screen, you see right here, these fields, the Russians yesterday didn't push from the roads. We have a convoy geolocated by Deep State, who published also this drone footage showing an entire Russian convoy trying to traverse these fields north of Avdiivka or west from Krasnokharivka onto Ukrainian positions. Of course they hit the minefields. I mean, even the minefield was geolocated, and you can see about 5 destroyed Russian vehicles right in front of the minefield, so they all hit the mines one by one. And on this drone footage, which I cannot show here, I'm sorry, but I'll describe it, there was a ton of infantry. On every last infantry fighter vehicle and tank, they all disembarked, and then the cluster munitions hit. You can see a carpet of explosions, a wave of explosions. You know the cluster munitions, they go like that. Everything is filled with it, and the infantry is knocked out cold. And this is why we see 1,300 Russian infantry knocked out cold. This attack completely failed, and it's different in a way that the Russians this time try to go over the fields, but I mean, that's why they used the roads in the first place, because the fields are mined, and now they found this out firsthand. But of course, my friends, I now feel like I have to say this, Ukrainians are also taking losses in Avdiivka and defending Avdiivka. Russians have been attacking with superior forces in numbers for over a week, and they have been trying to surround Avdiivka, and Ukrainians very heroically have defended their fortress in Avdiivka. And Ukrainian staff of command knows this, and this is why, I'm not kidding you, Zaluzhnyi, the chief of staff of the armed forces of Ukraine, yesterday visited Avdiivka. Now, to give you the importance of this visit, I'll zoom out for a little bit. Look at it. This settlement is on a verge of being surrounded. Oh, it gets too dizzy here. And the chief of staff of the armed forces of Ukraine dares to go into this Ukrainian fortress that might be overrun any second. We don't know this. For me, this shows the chief of staff's solidarity in actions with its troops, not like in Russia, where their leaders and commanders try to get as far away as the front lines as possible. We have seen Zelensky in Bakhmut when Bakhmut was in the worst situation. We now see Zaluzhnyi in Avdiivka For me, this is respect. I personally respect this kind of behavior, and me as an infantryman, I need this, and I know others do also. This is the right behavior. Avdiivka is holding. My friends, now we have Russian propagandist Sladkov giving his report on Avdiivka, giving his sitrep of the Russian behavior in Avdiivka. Let's see what he thinks. The Avdiivka direction has revived again. Cannonade is ongoing, but not like last week. We happened to be driving near Donetsk, and suddenly it boomed right above our ears. Veterans of the Great Patriotic War were not too fond of the film Belaruski train station. For the line, "We will not spare the cost." Commanders said, "Take at any cost, huge losses were expected." I don't want us to take Avdiivka at any cost. I want it to be classic. Number 1, gaining air superiority. Number 2, destruction of enemy fire weapons. Number 3, attack. Almost a NATO doctrine, pretty safe and good, and if I was the command of any kind of army, I would try to follow these 3 steps. We will achieve air superiority when we destroy the air defense systems of the Ukrainian armed forces, and we'll be able to fly airplanes over enemy territory. When we have 5 times more drones and UAVs than the enemy, well, good luck with that. I mean, tomorrow, or actually, yes, tomorrow, Saturday, 21st of October, my documentary is coming out when I went to Ukraine in September. And the goal of this documentary is to give kamikaze drones to the best Ukrainian Special Forces unit, to give them the UAVs. And for that, we had to speak with the company that makes these UAVs. And this is only one military startup in Ukraine. And they produce over 5,000 of these kamikaze drones per month. Only one, and there are hundreds of drone companies in Ukraine. So for this segment right here, that they will have to have like 5 times more drones than Ukrainian army, it's not gonna be possible. Ukrainian military startups and drone startups have the might and logistics of the Western world behind them, and I have personally seen you cannot outproduce these drone companies. Also, here is the trailer for you, so you know what to expect tomorrow. Slava Ukraini! You can fix this car with a beer can. Very sex.
It was a Lada.
It was, yeah, you can see. There's like a pink dildo underneath there. Oh! I'm dancing around there like a little girl, you know?
Kick me in the dick, I'm alright. It's the balls, you know?
Slava Ukraini! Also, if you are not patient enough, then you can actually see everything in my Instagram, because I post there well before it comes to YouTube. So check out my Instagram, link is in the description below. The Ukrainian armed forces weapons can be destroyed in counter-battery combat if we have artillery reconnaissance, but we don't have it. So only the attack remains then the meat assaults. Yes, very good, Sladkov. You begin to understand the truth. The Russians do not have artillery recon because Ukrainians keep destroying the artillery pieces and every kind of early warning radar systems and everything they can find, electronic warfare systems. Russian counter-battery artillery is very weak compared to the Ukrainian ones. What the Russians do have is incredible numbers in dumb artillery pieces, and this is what they have been using. We need to stop doing things like that. I am sure that I am unanimous with the commanders at all levels. My friend Sladkov, you are wrong. You're not unanimous with the commanders of all levels. The higher up commanders need progress at any cost to please the Tsar. So they commenced the meat assault attacks. It was their decision. So you are only unanimous with the meat assaulters themselves, the Storm Z units. Now, my friends, we jump away from Ukraine for just a second. We jump to the United States. And actually, this information actually a bit frightened me, because I read the reports of where United States bases were attacked in the Middle East, and there have been many yesterday. In the last 24 hours, United States base in Syria Konoko gas field was attacked. United States base in Syria's Danf area got attacked. United States in Iraq's Ain al-Assad airbase got attacked. United States Navy warship in Yemen's water just had to intercept 3 missiles. Pro-Iranian forces across Middle East are on the offensive. See, I'm not saying this that the US has some kind of a trouble. I am stating this here because in my time in YouTube, I have spent a fair share researching the United States military capacity. For the reason of this report, I just want to say they are waking the dragon. They're awaking the sleeping giant. I mean, the United States military does not compare to anything the world has, any other country has. I don't think any kind of force in the Middle East wants to mess with that. This is how I see the thing, at least. They're poking the giant and they will get the response. And I'm glad I'm on the right side. Now, my friends, we go to the Kherson Oblast over the Dnipro, and we go to the settlement of Pichanivka and Boima right here. Rehi reported 2 days ago that Ukrainian forces, the 35th and the 36th Marine Brigades, have infiltrated those two settlements, and his reports don't stop. And we have these similar reports from the Ukrainian sources also. See, on this video, you can see the 35th and the 36th Marine Brigades elements crossing the Dnipro River with speedboats. I mean, we have footage of this, and that is not all. We actually have geolocated footage of Ukrainian troops on the near vicinity of Pichanivka, actually about 20-30 meters from the first house. You can see the geolocation done on this photo, and the footage I'm talking about, you can see it right here. This is Pichanivka, and the soldier you can see is filmed by a Russian drone and is running back into Pichanivka, meaning Ukrainian forces liberated some urbanized area in it. Now, I cannot state or confirm that this will be a long-term presence or if they're going to push forward. This might just be a recon group, a recon battle. But the fact that they were able to do this, that Ukrainians are poking, and the more weak spots they find, the better they can make their future plans in the area. And right now they have found a lot of weak spots. It has been one great weak spot in the Russian front line. Now, these reports come from Rehi, some anonymous Ukrainian sources, and also Russian military blogger Romanov. So we have pretty big sources confirming this information. And to get a clearer idea of how the Russian biggest military blogger sees this situation near Boima and Pichanivka, I will read you the Rehi's report on it. Kherson direction, Ukrainian armed forces attack on Grinki situation as of 8 p.m. October 19th. And my friends, we're talking about Grinki. This is not Pichanivka or Boima. This is another Ukrainian liberated urbanized area. You know, we go a little bit east from Pichanivka, Oleshki and Boima, and this is the settlement of Grinki. Is right on the front line of the Ukrainian bridgehead and the Russian territorial defense forces. And Rehi reports that Ukrainian troops have entered this settlement, liberating some houses, gaining a foothold in the urbanized area. Let's read the report. Early in the morning, assault detachments of the MTR South, with the support of 2 DRGs of the 35th Infantry Brigade of the Ukrainian Navy, crossed the river and attacked Grinki. As a result, the Ukrainian formations managed to gain a foothold in the village and advanced all the way to the road. The enemy used very simple tactics. First, territorial defense units were sent into battle, which overwhelmed the Russian armed forces in numbers, and then the more trained special forces and marines developed their success. After some time, Russian artillerymen and army aviation helicopters began firing at the enemy, and the infantry forced the Ukrainian armed forces to the village. Now the assault groups are still holding several houses in Grinki, awaiting the arrival of reinforcements. To the west, near the railway bridge, units of the 36th Brigade Division tried to carry out rotation and evacuation all night. Due to the lack of boats, this process has been delayed. 19 boats from Kherson were detected. So Ukrainians have a number of speedboats operating over the Dnipro from Kherson area. Russian speedboats have been destroyed by Ukrainian kamikaze drones. I've seen many visualized confirmed destructions in the last 3 months. They were hunting them. The Marines equipped 5 strongholds along the railway crossing, and formations of the 501st Separate Battalion of the 36th Brigade were transported to Aleshkinsky Island. They were given the task of occupying and clearing Pechenivka. DRGs are actively working near the settlement under the cover of mortars and AGS crews. Well, the honest situation is that this should not happen. By looking from the Russian side, this should not be the reality. Russian military blogger Romanov published this video on the road to Oleshki. This is deep behind the front line, behind Aleshki, you know, a few clicks into the Russian-occupied inland, we see a Russian vehicle after Russian vehicle being destroyed by Ukrainian first-person view drones. This is a few clicks behind enemy lines. Ukrainians are forcing down the Kherson army grouping of the Russian armed forces. I mean, it's not an army grouping, it's territorial defense brigades. And they don't have many vehicles, and the vehicles that they do have, as you can see from this video, are being hunted. Because I think Ukraine is planning something in the area. Now, my friends, we'll jump to Kupiansk for a moment, to the northern front, because here we can actually see a Russian engineering equipment trying to dig new defensive positions, new trenches. And then, boom, we see Ukrainian first-person view drone hunting the engineering equipment. And I cannot show you more, but it was knocked out cold. Now, my friends, we'll watch a video translated by Dimitri, and this shows a Russian serviceman walking along a Russian truck convoy that got hit with MLRS, and I would say cluster munitions, but let's see it. 8 wheels. Look, this is a lot of trucks, like entire logistics truck fleet of some kind of a frontal area. All the tires destroyed. The interesting part here is that we don't see any explosions, the trucks are not burned. This means everything was done by tiny shrapnel that don't hurt much. I'll go to the other side, okay? All of the tires are empty, all wheels on this side. You can see these very tiny holes. This is the worst because they're so small you cannot protect against them. And they will create a cloud of shrapnel so thick nothing can hide, and it will go through any soft targets which are logistic vehicles. The tank is not fully broken, as I understand. Well, it is. I can't open it. Glass is all broken. Look at this. This is tiny shrapnel, the cloud of shrapnel. Nothing can hide from it. It must have been switched on. The engine room is probably screwed. All of these trucks, they have not burned. They're all there, but they're so filled with tiny shrapnel you cannot fix them. Every hose, every power line is ruptured. Look at these tiny holes. It's insane. The glass is inside. Next one. Again, all tires empty. 1, 2, 3, 4. You might say, oh, only the tires. The tires are a huge issue. If you have a truck fleet like the Russians do, because they rely heavily on trucks to supply their frontline units, the tires are an issue. The trucks drive a lot. Their tires are usually smooth. They cannot even replace the tires on the trucks that are working. I mean, replacing these, impossible. 6 wheels. Everything is completely pierced. Look at this. The hail of these shrapnel. I could only imagine what it does to a human body. Only red mist is left from you. This is where Roma was found. Roma was knocked out cold, I guess. Renault trucks. So they're Renault trucks. Hull is all damaged. Oh, full of fragments. Cluster munitions are an insanely effective weapon. Guys were in here, no guys in there. Look at this. This was Citroën, the previous one was Renault. These are French trucks working in the Russian military. The cabin also inflated. This footage might be boring, but actually for me it illustrates the insane effectiveness and the cloud of shrapnel, the thickness of it, of cluster munitions. So nothing can escape from it. And this is why we see so many Russian losses today, because yesterday the convoy was repeatedly hit with cluster munitions. I could see the cloud of explosives happening from the drone. Was insane. My friends, but now for the last time in this week, I will thank the Patreons, because tomorrow you will not get a Ukrainian update. You will get the full documentary of me going to Kiev, training with the Special Forces unit, visiting troops in the hospital, visiting the 3rd Assault Brigade, and with your help, we will give them kamikaze drones. But now the Patreons. Errol Milevsky. Wow. Bananos. Bananos. Thomas Brode. Siak Voice. Sven Erkensten. Thank you to these 5 people. If you like my channel, become a tier 10 and above patron, and I'll be butchering your name. Until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini, and bye bye.